T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. Episode 535, Mike Stefani of Mike's Monitors tonight on Trap Talk with MJ. Thursday nights, man. What is good? I'm your boy MJ. Hope everyone had a great week, man. We're just about there. Just about the end of the week. And you know how we end this week in proper style on Trap Talk with MJ. It's going to be quite the episode tonight. Very excited to have Mike Stefani, a.k.a. Uncle Mike, back on the show to talk about a lot. We're going to be talking about a lot. Breeding emerald tree boas, Varanus is, monitor. What's the future looking like for the monitor community? Some of the bigger monitor breeders who've been breeding for years. We're going to be covering a lot of topics, man. So I'm excited. But if this is your first time tapping in, what is good? Do me a favor, hit that like button. All right. Especially if you're into monitors and, emerald tree boas and just all the prehistoric reptiles out there that you could keep. And yeah, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. By doing that and selecting all, you'll be reminded of every single podcast release out of the Trap Talk Reptile Network, 7 days a week. All right. Monday through Sunday, you can catch an episode here, different segments. All right. So thank you for all the love and support. If you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to get more out of what you see out of each episode, you want to get more like early release type stuff and just meet some awesome reptile keepers, and do me a favor, come join the Trap Talk Patreon family. You can do that by clicking the first link in the description below. And as soon as you join the Trap Talk Patreon family, you get a link to a Discord, an awesome Instagram group chat. Just a good way to connect with some of the best students in the game, man. It's all about the longevity. I feel like no matter what you surround yourself with in the reptile game, it should have longevity attached to it. So what's good, man? Shout out to the early birds. Who's here right now? Who's ready to rock and roll? Shout out to people who are ready. Listen, I know I haven't gave you guys a ball python episode in quite a long time, but I'm saving my juices for that. You know what I mean? I can't just, I got to just do what I want to do sometimes, and been wanting to bring Uncle Mike on the show first and foremost. So I don't know, all you ball python people are dying for an epic episode. It's coming. Don't worry. All right. But there's other business I need to cover on this Thursday night. All right. But shout out to Mason, the monitor man in the building. Appreciate you so much. Big Mike, 1776 Exotics, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. There'll be Tony in the building. What is good, Tony? Chantel in the building. What's up, homegirl? Pacific Rim Serpents, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homie Alan Morales in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Meteoric Serpents, JD, Colubra Corruption in the building. What is good? Big E Top, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Of course, my homie Big E Top G Villarino, Trap Talk Patreon member, B Unit family, all that. And I appreciate you so much for being here. Big Dog, D's Balls and Exotics, day one homie, Trap Talk Patreon member, and the homie Mike D. What is good, player? Thanks for tapping in. So listen, I got to say that I'm very honored with tonight's sponsor, but before we get to tonight's sponsor, please support US Art. You can do that by clicking the second link in the description below. All right. If you don't know what US Art is, it's all good. Go to that website, read all about it. All right. And see how important it is to become a US Art member today. All right. If you're a reptile keeper, you need to protect your rights. Never know. No joke. All right. So thank you to anyone out there who is a US Art supporter. And again, if you don't know what US Art is, don't be ashamed. Just click on that third link in the description below and become a US Art member today and help us get these numbers up, because it's very important. All right. So shout out to tonight's sponsor, Gary Scavino, number one in the Arboreal YouTube game for sure. It's my guy right here. Always makes things exciting, always bringing amazing heat to the forefront as far as hands, things you get your hands on in the reptile world that just isn't a typical ball python or gecko or, the more common. This is next level stuff, and it's not even next level stuff as far as how to keep it. It's just, not enough people working with a lot of stuff that Gary displays on his channel and whatnot. So you never know what he's going to have available. Head over to his YouTube, GS Reptiles, and also on Instagram. All right, GS Reptiles. Go subscribe, follow, be ready. He drops his stuff on Fridays randomly. Actually, he just dropped one Thursday because I was Daytona, but usually it's Fridays. But if you subscribe to his channel, then you'll get notified. All right. So thank you, Gary Scavino, GS Reptiles. All right. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Blake Exotic Feeders, number one quail in the game, brought to your doorstep anywhere in the country. And this guy produces it himself. No third party, no China quails, none of that stuff. No, this is the real deal Holyfield organically produced quail that you can feed your reptiles. All these reptiles I have in this room eat quail, and it comes from the homie Blake. So head over to Blake Exotic Feeders on Instagram. Send him a message. Let him know the trap sent you. He'll take care of you, or just go to his website. You can find all the links as far as how to follow him or place an order in the description below, and that's Blake Exotic Feeders. Appreciate the support, Blake. And I just got an order in of a bunch of quail, and I'm excited. Thank you so much. My homie Blake's been putting me on for over a year now, and I appreciate it. And I also want to say shout out to the Conduit Constrictor family, all right, ball python family, who's making big moves, producing top quality ball python stuff, and really making a name for themselves. So head over to their Instagram, check them out, Conduit Constrictors, and you can also catch them at big NARBC shows. And a force to be reckoned with. Conduit Constrictor family, thank you so much for the love and support. And yes, guys, again, I've been wanting to bring Uncle Mike on for a while. You know, I want to say first and foremost, shout out to Uncle Mike and his co-host, Jen Black, on their Saturday morning show, All Monitor Talk. It's been one for the books, I'm not going to lie. You know, so there's just a lot of things to cover on tonight's episode with Mike, and it's going to be going down. So again, if you're in the chats tonight, if you think tonight's episode is worth of any super chat, if you have a question or if you have a topic or you just want to show some love, drop a super chat. Don't be shy. All right, guys. But let's do it. Enough is enough. Let's bring in Uncle Mike. All right, you know what you got to do. It is that time to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to get your mind right, and do what you got to do to stay hydrated. Episode 535. Uncle Mike, Stefani, Mike's Monitors coming at you right now. Let's go. Cheers.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it.
And we're live with Uncle Mike Stefani, Mike's Monitors. What's up, Uncle Mike?
Hey, what's going on? You guys gotta see my shirt.
Oh yeah, we see it.
Yeah, see, you know what? I'm from the old school, man. I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission, so I did it.
Yeah, do it. I mean, I love the Ship Your Reptiles family. They're my family, so all day, every day. Go ship your reptiles right here.
Absolutely. Hey, and anybody who's watching, Uncle Mike was a little slow on the draw. I got my brother in from Australia. If you could tag Susie, Bluesy, and Chad and Josh, thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, how you doing, Uncle Mike? Good to have you back on a Thursday night. It's been a long time.
It has.
Yeah, and listen, thank you for contributing and doing your thing on early Saturday mornings. Or you've been consistent. And how's it feel? Let's kind of talk about you being a podcaster.
Oh man, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. I fell into it. Whatever. Me and Jin, and tag my partner Jin Black. Somebody, please. So we were talking for a couple months about we don't know none of this computer stuff. So we were just gonna do like a live, the same time every week, and so we kind of laid out how we wanted our shows to go and stuff, and then however it works out, I'm a Christian, so I call the Lord, the Lord did it. So you had reached out to me and asked if I would like to do a spot. And then, I of course I had to confirm it with Jen, and we discussed it, and and we're on the Trap Talk Network.
Yeah, listen, she's awesome, bro. It's
She is.
I don't know how the show would be without her, because she's such a help, not only on the technical side of things, because she's the one that could end and start the stream. She knows what she's doing on that. And that is painful. Like, even her, sometimes I have to tell her it's all good. Like, it's okay not to know everything, because this shit took me, I would say, years to figure out. What I mean? It is a whole nother beast to kind of overcome. But at the end of the day, it's why I'm here for you guys. And so you guys been doing a hell of a job. And I want to ask you, overall, because I do see a lot of passion about a lot of the topics you guys relate to. And we're gonna talk about so much tonight, Uncle Mike. I hope you're ready. You know what I mean? You've had success with emerald tree boas, which I'm so happy for you with that. And
thank you, Mike.
And you had no kind of expectations. You went into it like, just, hey, I'm just here to learn, and you had success. So we're gonna talk about that tonight. But I want to cover the whole Varanus diet that you're very kind of you stand tall on that, Uncle Mike, because as you see nowadays, there's so many different ways to eat things and whatnot and whatever. But when we're talking a monitor here and digestive systems, what are we talking as far as diets that just aren't really good long-term things for a monitor,
Okay, well, I've been a long-time reptile guy. So I've had everything from freaking toads to ball pythons, boas, everything, just everything, whatever snails, anything. So I look into the animal itself. So, you think, when you think like boas and pythons, they're very sedentary. So they eat a big meal and they go off, and they, in my opinion, they basically turn off and they digest their meal. I mean, you can go up to the glass while they got a big meal in their belly and tap on a glass. They may give you a tongue flick, and that's it. They're doing their job. They're digesting their food. However, when you got animals like varanids and certain colubrids like Drymarchon, Thamnophis, these are all high metabolism snakes. So you wouldn't go about the same way of feeding these high metabolism animals as you do these lower metabolism animals. So since we're talking monitors, we'll just stick with that for now. So a monitor's digestion is, they don't want to be bogged down. They don't want to be so uncomfortable that they're sitting in a corner, because they're vulnerable. So what they do is they eat more smaller meals than these big lumps that just sedate them really and put them out of action for a few days. So they don't want that. So they're always looking for food. They're always on the move. And even if you do give them a big meal, as long as it's not too big, they burn it off, because like I say, they have a very high metabolism. A lot of problems that I see with people with their monitor lizards is, things are really, really changing from back in the old days. Back in the old days, rodents, man, that was it. There was, maybe you can get some, crazy food at the Asian market or whatever. But for the most part, people feed a lot of rodents to these animals, and it's not conducive with their metabolism and their way of life. Right. And they become really fat. Now, this is controversial, and I really don't care, because it is what it is. I'm just telling you the way I see it and the way I do it. So if for example, you give, like you see these monitors, and I'm not mentioning any names, the guys over there, the big dog on the West Coast there, when he's got those, his monitors are football shaped, that's not what a monitor is supposed to look like. A healthy monitor doesn't look like a football. A healthy monitor is long and lean. You could always see the lateral lines on them. And when they become football shaped like that, what people don't understand is, we're not lizards. Lizards ain't us. So, to go out and gorge yourself on cheeseburgers, that's not what these animals do. We do it. And that's why people kind of convey that into their animals, which is totally wrong. So what happens is, when they eat these big caloric meals, and it just lingers in their belly and it takes a long time to break down, they're getting all of these calories and they put it into, because this is the way they work, they put it into fat stores for times when when food's not so plentiful. So they basically burn off all those fat stores, and they go from that football looking animal back to a normal looking animal. Sometimes, even in our opinion, you look at these animals and you're like, wow, that thing's emaciated, but it's not. That's how they run. They run like that. They eat, they digest their food quick, and they're back at it again. So when you see these animals that are big and football shaped, what people don't understand, and I try to explain this to people, maybe I'm not the best at it, I don't know, but here's I'm gonna attempt it right now. So I've cut many monitor lizards open. So when you have a big animal that's football shaped and you cut them open and you do a necropsy on them, you'll get into the internal organs, and then what flanks the body are these big yellow, they're big yellow sacs, and these are their fat stores. Well, what happens is when their fat stores get big like that, that's fat. They're not, if you never give them a chance to work that off, that fat is, it transfers into like a fatty liver. Then from the fatty liver, you get kidney failure. So that's why a lot of people have animals that suddenly die, and they say, oh, here, they take a picture of it, and it's laying on the substrate with its head in a curled back on itself, and it's perfectly healthy looking animal, and they go to touch it and it's dead. Well, 90% of the time that's like a kidney failure, in my opinion. Again, I'm no vet or nothing like that. This is just from my opinion of many years working with these animals. So avoid large prey items, and multiple small, like, so if you take a rat that weighs, I don't even know, I don't weigh nothing. So if you take a large rat, okay, and you feed it to your animal, it's going to take him, probably about a week, 5-7 days to break that whole animal down. Where if you give them the same weight in quails, they blow through that. They burn that up and they're ready to go for more. So what happens is you get a big lump of food in your belly, right? And rodents have fur and pretty tough skin. So their stomach acids are around this prey item, and it takes so long for it to break through the hair and the skin. And once it breaks into the animal, the stomach acids really eat up the innards of a rat, the bones and everything else. But getting its stomach acid getting into that prey item, it takes a long time. Where if you have the same amount of weight in birds or even smaller rodents, what happens is all that distance in their belly that's between, where am I going? That's between, so you got one lump of rat here and then another lump of rat here. Well, now there's a lot of surface area that's being worked on by their stomach acids. It breaks down a lot faster. But again, I avoid, and then I look at it from, I'm mainly a breeder, so I look at it from that standpoint. So I keep my animals running like Ferraris. I don't want no F-150s. I want Ferraris. So I keep them hot, I run them hard, and they do their thing, and that's it. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I from what I know, a monitor that's being fed properly should have a long time life.
Absolutely.
I see, like you said, the ones that kind of drop dead. You think to wonder, like, if their diet consists of just being fed rodents, and like, I know monitors could handle a rodent, but like every week or every meal a rodent, like that's what turns that monitor into what a big giant football field, I should say. I've seen something so gigantic, it just looks very unnatural to me. Like,
and trust me, when you see, and we all know who we're talking about.
I actually don't. Who are we talking about?
I don't want to mention any names because I'm not trying to befrontle anybody or whatever. But
you're not really befrontling. I mean, if everybody knows, I'm just trying to figure out who we're talking about.
Okay, it's a guy who has a very big following on the West Coast, and all his monitors look like stuffed animals. They're just blown up.
Asian dude?
No, not an Asian dude.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. But at any rate,
you're not talking about Jay, are you?
Of course.
Oh, but why are you making that a big deal? Like that's a shocker, Uncle Mike? Are you kidding me? You did. I thought you were gonna break the mold here with the new name, and I was like,
No.
oh my God, bro, come on, man.
No. So for example,
ain't nothing new, bro. We all know that. Come on.
right. Okay. Well, so there you go. That in the monitor world, and I don't know anything about big retics, but I kind of think the same way along the lines of them big retics too. They're way too big, man. They're just too big. So when you see these animals and they don't lift their bodies up and run, a healthy monitor has to be ready to run, be it for food or for to run away from a threat. But they should never be so big to where they're dragging their belly and kind of just sliding across the floor. That's unhealthy.
I mean, let's talk about a Komodo, which is the biggest, right? And look how that thing could run.
Absolutely.
It's built for that. You know what I'm saying? And I have lace monitors, Uncle Mike, and I was taught by John and Alex, like, you don't make them, there's a certain time where you get them big, but when that's not that time, you feed them accordingly. You don't blast them and you don't feed them with nothing but rodents.
Absolutely. I mean? There's a time to maintenance feed, and then there's time to really put in calories for a female that you want to, get her into a cycle and have some eggs. But with that being said, my males, I do feed them every day, but they don't get, and when I say I feed them every day, I know there's a lot of people out there but I don't feed like you feed. I might feed literally my kingpin, my big sulfur male. One day I may feed him 3 silver sides that are, 2 inches long.
What is the silver side?
it's a fish.
Okay.
It's a real small fish, but it's really good for the omega-3s and all the fish oil and stuff. And then several quails, like 4 or 5 quails, 3, 4 quails, and that's every day. But literally by the morning, they're looking at me like, "Oh, stupid, go get some food,"
Yeah.
So, I keep my males like that. Females, I feed heavier than that. And then when I want them to produce a cycle, I'll feed the crap out of them to where they're big. They're big and they're round, but they don't stay that way. They take all that calorie that they would turn into fat stores, and they turn it into egg production. So, you got to understand these animals.
Yeah, before we get into that breeding topic side of things, which we're going to talk about my experience with me trying to breed the laces earlier this year. Quail, right? I feel like quail is probably the best thing I could feed my monitors as far as like, the way they digest it. It's a whole prey item, right? I know who grows it. I know where it's coming from. But where do you get your quail from? I'm curious.
All right, hold on a minute. Listen to me. And I'm sorry for your sponsor and all the other people. So
we're trying to get you over to us, man. What do we got to do? Are you signed? Are you signed to somebody?
Yeah, no. What you got to do is you got to stop selling quail as reptile food. I don't go to Reptile. A person selling quail as reptile food.
Why?
Here, let me tell you why. So, if the people I get my stuff from, if they found out what I was doing with it and how valuable it is to me, I'm sure the prices would go up. You understand?
Yeah.
But these people they're I live in Wisconsin, man. So these are old country boys and 4-H club members, and they breed quails for human consumption, number one, and a lot of them,
which is delicious, by the way. I've had quail and it's bomb.
I never have.
I've had deep fried quail. It's so good.
I would try. I mean, I'm not above that. I'd eat it for sure, but I just never did it.
My bad. Continue though. I'm sorry.
So, falconers, people who are falconers, they raise quail for their birds to attack or train or whatever that they do with it. So if you find people you could go to Facebook group and look for quail breeder in your area. And again, try not to find the ones that are selling as reptile foods.
Mike, don't tell my viewers where to go buy the quail. I'm just asking you.
Okay, well, I'm trying to tell you.
Just tell me where you get your freaking quail and why we can't get you over to get. No, hold on. I just want to know why you don't want a reptile quails being sold for reptiles. Let's just get to that point. I want to know.
Okay, well, like for example, and I'm just throwing out numbers. I don't really know because I don't look. Okay, so I buy like 2,000 14-day quail eggs, 14-day incubated quail eggs,
Okay.
and I buy those for 20 cents, 25 cents.
Okay.
How much is a reptile food breeder selling them for? 50 cents if you're buying that many?
Probably
You know
a
what I'm
lot
saying?
more, a lot more. So it's coming down to price, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it has to be because
That's all you gotta say.
okay, it is price, of course.
Right,
I mean,
there we go.
I buy 2,000 chicks every couple months, and I buy 2,000 14-day fertilized incubated eggs every couple months. So
You live in Green Acres, we're the place to be. You're fucking that's your environment, right? But
absolutely
if Blake was like, "Hey, Uncle Mike, I just want to send you free quail," would you say no to that?
free.
Yeah, you heard me.
Hey,
Free.
if it's for free, it's for me.
That's what I'm saying. You never know. He might want to work something out where, as long as you promote him, take this quail. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to talk. You know, that's
Hey, I'm sure we could talk.
okay. So, but the thing is, Uncle Mike, I wanted to get to the point where there's nothing wrong with buying somebody who's selling quail for reptile people. If you're okay with the price, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, the quails are the quails. As long as they're not feeding any cheap shit, you know. I can remember back in the day, when I was Clubrid breeder and rainbow boa breeder, I also bred my own mice and rats. And at the local show here, which was legendary, it was called Lee Watson's Reptile Swap in the Red Barn.
Oh yeah,
Mark Bailey.
Barczyk used to talk about that, and Mark Bailey.
Yep. So there was a guy who was feeding his rodents. There was one guy. It was one guy, and he kind of had a hot wife, man. That's what I remember. So, but that hotness wore off quick when my snake started shitting grease.
Oh,
so
what the hell?
yeah. So I'm breeding things like Trans-Pecos rat snakes, Baja rat snakes, Western green rat snakes. Pretty. I mean, they weren't delicate, but they could be delicate. So when they would shit and it was real greasy and nasty, and I started thinking, wow, what the heck, you know? So I started breeding my own, and I was feeding always lab blacks, Science Diet lab blacks. So it's a rodent food, commercially available rodent food. And when my snakes, about a month later, when they started shitting really clean, I put it together. And then I asked his hot wife, I'm like, what do you guys feed your rodents, you know? She goes, oh, we feed them, what was it? It was like Old Roy dog food and pig blacks. And as soon as I stopped with those rodents, my animals shit clean, natural, you know, dry snake shit.
Regular shit, right.
Yeah, so they got mad at me because I was charging more money. And you know, I started taking some of their business. And, you know, the only sales pitch that I had was that story right there. I said, well, you could feed those. They're a little cheaper, but here's what I found. And then I you know, tell them about my experience with the snakes. And so I started snatching a little business over there, which didn't go over big with the guy and his hot wife. But what are you going to do?
You know, and one of the biggest things, Uncle Mike, that I'm sure nails it on the coffin when it comes to where you get your stuff is, you know, you go to a lot of these big rodent companies that are out there now who are getting accused. Well, actually, they openly admit, some of them, from getting China mice from China, right?
I just recently heard about this. That's fucking weird.
And, but also the other thing is a lot of these companies that are claiming to breed their own mice actually don't breed their own mice and just get it from other third-party people, and it's just a hand-me-off because their demand's so big where the people who are producing the stuff don't have a clientele, and it's like a wholesale thing, right? So they're no matter what, they're making a big cut off the mice.
Right.
But that kind of like hand-me-down shit and not really knowing where the hell this rat or mice is coming from, what it's being fed, you know, because you got people who feed something one night, they walk in, the animal's dead, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Right? And that's
you never know.
Scary thing to think about. That's why, you know, I rep my quail sponsored pretty heavily because his quail's produced on his property. I've been to his place. He showed me his whole operation, and that, like, that's a peace of mind. Just the way it's a peace of mind where you get your quail from, right? Because you're getting it from the source. But the whole rodent thing is scary. It's a scary thing, Uncle Mike. I'm not gonna lie to you right now.
No, you know what? And I agree. And I've heard from other people that buy from Blake, and they're perfectly happy with his animals, which is great. I've never really heard anything bad about quail. I mean, chicken scratch is pretty cheap, I would imagine, not like, rodent food. But yeah, with rodents, when times get tough like they are right now, and you look at a $50 bag of rodent food or a $5 bag of Old Roy, which it'll sustain your mice, but that's going into your animals. So you are what you eat. You don't want your prized animals eating Old Roy, right?
No, I mean, but what's crazy is I forgot where this was being discussed, but even premium rodent food, Missouri, right? And I'm not trying to attack Missouri, but I even heard the stuff in that food is not good. You know what I mean? And so,
very well could be.
I'm telling you, at the end of the day, because we're going to be obviously talking about emeralds, and how a lot of these emeralds that go from getting picked out of the wild, being held to where they're held, and they come here and then they regurgitate because their stomachs just can't handle a rat, But, if you give it something else, possibly, something smaller, which I've done. The thing with emerald tree boas that are imports, and I told this with you, I'll never forget when you got your emeralds in and you were feeding it small meals. And I was like, Uncle Mike, I was like, don't be scared. Hit it hard. You're like, I'm going to just go slow with it. And for me, my experience is I've gone slow with it. And until I give them an actual meal that they're supposed to eat, and they throw it up. And it's like, what the hell just happened? And it's usually when that transfer goes from mice to rats, from a problematic imported emerald tree boa. Now, there's some that come in where they got no issue at all, which that's the kind of luck you had, right? And again, congratulations, Uncle Mike, on your success.
Thank you.
What a sight. I'll never forget that morning seeing that video. I had to rub my eyes like 10 times. Like, you know what I mean? I couldn't believe what I was looking at, but also I couldn't believe that you still had your female in there with the male in the background and babies everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, technically, this is not supposed to happen. Like, this is crazy. And I was thrilled with you, man. But why don't we take it back from, obviously Josh is where you got the original female from, right? Yeah,
Empire Exotics, Josh Alder.
And the enclosure that it's in now was always the enclosure you had it in, or did you move it? Or
no, when I first got those two. So the story goes. So when he does shows in my area, he's from Michigan, I'm from Wisconsin, Illinois. When he does shows in my area, he stays at my house. He stays overnight at my house.
Nice.
So I tell him all the time, I'm like, oh, nephew, ain't you getting tired? He's like, yeah, I'm getting tired, Uncle Mike. I'm like, go to bed. Go upstairs and go to bed. And when I hear his foot hit that top step, that's it. I'm in them boxes. I'm rifling through all the good shit. And I called you that night. When I found that patternless emerald, I called you. I bought that for you.
Yeah.
And you were, I'm not trying to hit a sore nerve with you because I know what you just went through and all, but, you were all into it. You wanted it, and then you thought imported. And Josh, I got to say something about Josh Alder at Empire Exotic. Yeah. He don't let nothing go until it's feeding and he's rehydrated it. He's wormed it. So he's very good that way.
Do you remember what it was, though? And here's the thing. And this is nothing against Josh, because I found out that he has really good import stuff, right? But I knew nothing of the kid. I swear to God, I met him at one Tinley. I bought a snake from him, an emerald, a female, that turned out to be the right sex. It was beautiful in person. But the thing was, and this isn't against him either. It was more of I was just uncertain because it was in one hand before it came to me, and when I got it in, it had a respiratory infection. It was a little beat up, and the thing was, I can't even say it was his fault because when I originally saw the emerald, it was in good shape. But when I got it, I just had a bad taste in my mouth because I wasn't even sure if this thing was going to make it. And then I'm like, I can't think of spending money again when I don't even know what the hell's about to happen with this girl. That's all that was.
Mm-hmm.
That girl ended up, turning around and being awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue. Yeah.
So I set them up. I had taken that one, right. And I went downstairs to set it up in, I don't know, some kind of gecko
I remember like Exoterra type.
Yeah,
thing.
some kind of little cage, just good enough, you know.
Right.
Till I set up something better. This was late at night, and then I hear the footsteps coming down the stairs. I'm like, oh shit, you know. I thought Karen was coming down to bust me, right? So so it was Josh, and he had the opposite sex to go with it. But had he not bring that one down, I would have sold that animal because I never intended to keep it. I wanted to just give it to somebody because it was very unusual.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when my wife fucked up by buying she paired it up for me and he bring it down, and I was like, oh fuck, now I got a pair. I'm not getting rid of them. I'm going to try to breed them.
Yeah.
So that's how that went. And then shortly thereafter, I think it was like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months later, Josh contacted me and said Andrew Biddle had the opposite of what I had. So he had a male patternless and a northern normal female. They were adults.
Right.
And we did a trade, and I got those animals. And when I got those animals in, man, when I went and picked up the box, I was like, when the lady handed me the box, she kind of was like straining in her face. And I was like, oh, what a weakling. She hands me this box. I swear to God, it was like a box of money or something. It was heavy. So I was like, holy shit, now I'm really excited to get home and see how big these animals are. So I took the male out. I checked him out. He was beautiful, very low expression as far as, I think he's got like maybe 7 white dots on his back line, just literally small dots. So I call him patternless, although he's got a few white dots. But when I pulled that female out, I mean, her head was the size of a fucking Valentine's Day strawberry. It was huge. And right away, what flashes in my mind are all the pictures on the internet of their teeth. So I was very cautious with her. And the cages that I keep my emerald tree boas in are literally, they're monitor cages. They're Mike's Monitor socialization caging system. However, when I set them up for the boas, of course, I took out the big logs and I put in spittly branches for them to climb on, put a live plant in there for them. And so I set them up, I drained the water, and me and my son filled it up about halfway with bioactive soil, my magic dirt that I get on the farm over here. And the next week, the female had shed, but her head was stuck. Right. So I said, oh, Ange, we got to get the shed off her head. So we had to wrestle her down, and I peeled the shedding off her head. And I said, you know what? I'm never going to do that again. I never want to do that again. So I said, hey, Ange, start digging the dirt out of there. Oh, he was pissed. So he dug about 80 pounds of dirt on the bottom of the enclosure, and I filled it back up with water, put my filter back on. The humidity started to rise real quick. That night, I went down to check on them, and they were locked up. And the rest is, the whole story from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because obviously, this is what, I learned a lot this year. Obviously, I shared what happened with me, and I have so many things to like process and talk about tonight with that. But from what I've already could tell with what worked for you was having that humidity be like no factor. Like that, once that humidity went up and that was all what it needed to be, that's when everything came into like you could relax after that. You notice everything was good.
Yeah. Yep. And I talked to Andrew then, and Andrew told me he had them for 3 years. They never showed any signs of breeding. And I sent him the picture of them locked up, and he's like, no shit. I'm like, yeah. So, but he got a couple nice coming eye out of the deal. So I think he was happy anyway. So,
yeah. So now, since you've had this designed type enclosure for them, you don't deal with any kind of stuck sheds anymore, do you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. And do you even spray, or are you doing any kind of spraying in there?
I do. I do spray from time to time just to make sure that they're well hydrated. They have the full water bottom. And then if you look at that picture you're looking at to the left, you can see a
water dish.
Yeah, a water dish like mounted perch level. So they drink out of there. They rarely drink out of the bottom, but they poop down there. Where their poops go right in that water, I scoop it out, drain the water, and restart it all up.
Does that
I
tub
do.
slide out, or is it connected to something?
No, that whole enclosure sits on top of the tub.
Got it. Okay, got it.
It's fixed to the tub.
Got it. Okay, cool.
So that heated, filtered water, that, like I say, I never change it until they shit. Once they shit in there, I scoop the shit out, I drain it, I refill it, and turn the filter and the heater back on, and we're good to go.
Got it. Wow. Okay. And what are the wattages on those bulbs that you have up there? And what kind of bulbs are those? Just regular monitor bulbs that you use?
Yep, that's it. That's just a monitor cage set up for emerald tree boas. So those are 50-watt halogen flood bulbs.
And
R38.
Did you ever just kind of mess around to see what the basking was right underneath there, like on temp gun wise, or do you have an idea what she's like sitting under, like temperature wise?
Yeah, I believe I should have shot it before the show. It's like 95 to 99, and that's only because the perch is offset. And now, if you look where the male is perched on the right, there's another light bulb there that is right over that perch. And I rarely turn that on, but if I do, they get near it, but they don't, sit directly under it. So they seem to like 95 to 99 degrees. And when that female was gravid, yeah, she would sit under that light, under those two lights for, sometimes all day.
Yeah, damn, that's
yeah.
And so, how long do you have the basking for them? Like, how many hours a day is that on for?
I run them just like my monitors, 12 on, 12 off, never changes.
12 on, 12 off. Wow.
Yeah. And so
crazy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other correlations with the monitor cage. Oh, so we were talking about spraying. Right. I don't mist because I think the mist is too fine and I don't want them to breathe that in. So what I do is I actually use it's a garden hose. And it's the sprayer, the shower. It's called a shower. So I turn the pressure down low, and I just fucking rain on them. I just spray the crap out of them.
But it's more of a drizzle. It's more of a lighter pressure, is what you're saying.
Yes, yeah. It's not spraying. It's actually like rainfall,
like a mist.
Not mist, because mist is. I avoid the mist because I'm in my head. I think they may breathe too much of it in. You know what I mean?
Mm. So it's more of a bigger raindrop, is what you're doing?
Yes, it's like a raindrop.
Got you. Okay, got you.
And I might do that 3 times a week.
Yeah, you're not doing it every day because
no.
Yeah,
there's no need. That those cages are automatic humid.
Yeah, and so that male's never been separated, huh? They've always been together, even when you pulled the babies. Nobody ever got pulled.
No one ever got pulled. It's the same way it is now. Those pictures you showed of that female was the one that laid the babies earlier this year. And nah. Those are the new ones.
I'll get it.
I know you will.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you saying, Uncle Mike?
She is she's the one who gave birth earlier this year. And there she is. And she's back to where she was. I mean, she's huge. She's as thick as my forearm. So, and again, I was just talking to Warren today, and I don't know if I'm breaking rules. I just do what I do. You know what I mean? So when I first got into the emerald tree boas, I started researching. And there's so much contradictory information from this guy and that guy. Everybody does things a little different.
It really is.
And then a guy I was talking to, a friend of mine in Miami, I was telling him and showing him the pattern list. And he said to me, that's the partially patternless male. That's the dad of my litter.
Right.
So he goes, oh, you got emeralds? I'm like, yeah. He goes, easiest fucking snakes I ever had. And when he said that to me, I was like, wow. And that's why I say on my show a lot is sometimes we got to get out of our own way. These animals are professionals. They know what they're doing. And who's to really say, a large meal, small meal, grain in the belly, no grain in the belly, fruit and nuts. You know what? I don't look at it that way. I don't complicate things that much in my mind. I just try to think like the animal And yeah, I did learn a great lesson from you, Mike. I started off feeding them, like you would, an appropriate sized meal.
Right.
Well, I soon learned that, man, these things can take large prey items.
Yeah.
So now, like that big female, she'll eat 3 medium rats. And my male, that partly patternless one, he'll eat a medium rat. And the other ones that I have are now eating 1 medium rat at a shot. And I have a pair of Western Sanzinia boas. And I mean, those things have got to be maybe a foot long. And they're eating small rats. It's unbelievable.
Also, Uncle Mike, you're feeding this female 3 medium rats per sitting, like per session?
3 medium rats every time I feed her. Yep.
What the fuck? And how often are you feeding her?
You know what? That's the thing. You can see how full she is right there.
Yeah.
She's going to get a feed tonight. She might not take 3, but I'd guess she'd take 2, and then sometime later, beginning of next week, she'll probably take a big giant crap. And yeah, so that's how it is. If they eat, I give it to them.
Yeah, but you have I know there's really no schedule to it, but is there an idea like how frequently? So you're saying after you see the shit, you'll give them another one, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, no, I'll feed them. I'll feed them before they shit. But like right now, she's blown in that picture. So right. I think when I feed her tonight, either she'll eat or she won't. But she's going to take a shit early next week. So once she shits that out, she's going right back to 3. I guarantee it. She's a savage.
But there's no tracking of how you feed them. You just
no. It's some nights I go down and I try and they eat. Some nights I go down, and anyone who watches my lives at night know, I'll start a live and I have 10, 15, 20 people in the thing, and I'm showing them I'm feeding my boas, and I'm on the live for an hour and a half, and nobody ate. So it all depends. It depends on them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, man, that's crazy. And I remember when there was confusion even on your end because you had no clue when she ovulated, right? There was no, you didn't witness any ovulation. She just looked big always to you, right?
Yeah. Well, no, what happened was, Mike, it went like this. So I didn't notice the ovulation per se, but when I didn't know when she ovulated, but I counted the days from when they were locked up. When the male stopped locking up with her, that's what monitor guys do. So yeah. From the last copulation, you count 15 to 30 days and you got eggs. Right. So I was going from their last lockup, their last copulation.
Do you know what that was off the top of your head?
You mean day wise?
If you remember, like when the last lock he had before he stopped.
Yeah, no, they probably locked up 3 times over 3 nights, or maybe it was.
You don't know the last lock though. When the last lock was, what date it was?
And no, I do. I mean, I have it written down, but I'm not in my basement, so and the lights are off down there anyway, so I couldn't see anyways. But I could get all that information for you. Anyone wants to know, just hit me up. I'm free. I'm open with my data and shit. I don't hide nothing. I don't care.
Yeah. So, but what I'm curious is, you fed her for how long after that? Like, because did she ever shut off food for you? Yeah,
she did. When she probably a month or 2 after that lock, I noticed she wasn't interested in food anymore. Yet she was getting bigger and bigger and bigger to where, there was a point when I was probably a real pain in the ass to Warren, but I kept telling him, man, does this look right? She looks like she's gonna pop, and he goes, don't worry, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And because we didn't know when the ovulation was, we just had to sit around and wait until the day. And as a matter of fact, so probably for 7 months, every night I'm down there and I'm waiting to see that waxy poop that Warren was telling me about. And then you would know within, 24, 48 hours, she was going to lay her litter. Yeah. I never seen that waxy poop. And the night I said, fuck it. She didn't poop yet. The next morning I went down there and shot those photos.
And that's where the babies were everywhere.
That's where all the babies were.
And you
16 live.
There were 16. First 8 came out, or you 16 right off the bat? How many were out when you first looked at her?
She was done. Well, there might have been one. I caught one. I didn't even get it on video. By the time I was starting to take the video, it already dropped into the plant. So I didn't see none of them being born. And the crazy thing, so I'm counting them. There's one in the plant, 10 up there or 5 over there, and I'm just, I'm counting. And so I got the 15. I got 14. Then the next day I found another one in a plant. So I'm like, okay, that's 15. Great. This is beautiful. So at that point I had 15 live birth, and 8 slugs. Then I think it was a week later, like 5 or 7 days later, I'm in my other room and I'm feeding my indigos. And you know how some just it strikes you in your head. You see it, but you don't understand what's going on. So I have my snakes are on a baker's rack, with the wire that goes like a zigzag.
Yeah.
So I'm feeding the indigos, and I'm like, what the hell is that little baby emerald doing there? And I was like, holy shit, another one. It went from the complete opposite side of my monitor room, out of the monitor room, and into my secondary room that has no door on it. So somehow it got out of the room, the cage, and perched right in front of where I was feeding my indigos.
So that's where you found the last emerald tree boa was outside the enclosure?
It's got to be at least 30 feet away in a different room.
Fucking Uncle Mike.
Yeah.
You had so many things on your side. You got to be kidding me. That's fucking awesome.
Bro, I got one thing on my side.
Yeah,
the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, bro. And the snake gods up there too. That's something else. Because even on that, you got them all established, right? Like even you got them all to feed, or how'd that go?
So it was a majority of, again, I'm dealing with Warren. I mean, Warren was my mentor with this. He walked me through everything. He gave me, confidence of what I was doing, and really helped me out. I owe that guy a lot. So, and he's a great dude anyway. So, yeah. So, again, I'm looking at these tiny little, they might have been 6 inches maybe. And he goes, got to give them live hoppers. I'm like, live hoppers, man, they're tiny. So me being the knucklehead I am, I got live pinkies. No, I got live fuzzies. I put them all in there, go down the next day, none of them are gone. Call Warren, he goes, you use pinkies? I said, yeah. He goes, you got to use hoppers. It's the movement that gets them.
Yeah.
So the next week, I got 16. They're hoppers. I mean, their eyes were open. They're little mice. They could have survived on their own. Put them all in there. Probably 10 that first night, 8 on their own. No problem. Then the next day, whatever didn't eat, I took out. And, a couple days later, I tried them again. A few more would eat. I had one that was really stubborn. It probably went 3 weeks. And then just out of the blue, I threw a live hopper in there, came down the next day, it was gone. So they all were really carefree. I mean, I didn't have no troubles with them at all.
Yeah, man, that's so awesome. And so you got them in what kind of setup? What did you put the babies in?
So I put the babies in. I went ahead and I'm always doing something. So I made a rack, and out of this rack, like when you go to like Country Buffet or whatever, you go to the salad bar and you scoop into the dressing.
Yeah.
So one of those Cambro things are 6 by 6 by 6.
Right.
And I put them in a sliding rack. I had Cody Kopp make me 3D printed like little ladders. And I put a little string of fake plant in there, and I put them over about a 1/4 inch of water. And that's it.
Yeah, that's the way. And I remember you are just ambient, right? So whatever the temperature the room was, that's all they had, or
yeah, it's 80. Yeah, my room is 82 to 84 degrees at all times.
Oh, all the time. So it doesn't get below that.
No.
Wow, and that's another thing too. You got so many people who are very gung-ho about like temperature cycling and having to drop your temps in the low 70s. You didn't do any of that with these emeralds. These emeralds had 80 the whole time.
I didn't have no time. So man, another story. So
Wow.
I was raising that beautiful patternless that I was, the original one that was going to you, whatever. So I raised that thing. It's got to be about 3 years now. And I've always kept him with the one that my wife bought for me. So they lived together peacefully for 2 years. So just probably about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I go down there and that patternless, my son Angelino goes, "Hey Dad, the one with the pattern has 2 slashes on it." So I looked at it. They were healing. They weren't, fresh.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
So I didn't think nothing of it. And the lights went out that night. I went down there and my patternless, that beautiful patternless male, he was completely wrapped around the one that I thought was opposite sex for him. They turns out they were both males.
Oh,
and
yeah, 2 males.
yeah. And you know what though? So the patternless male, thank God, was more dominant, and he beat up the northern normal that I had, and I sent that to Warren. It had the little scars on it. Warren needed a male, so I just sent it to him.
But he made it though, huh? Like nobody died.
Nope. He made it. It was real. It was real early in the battle. I mean, he didn't get the shit kicked out of him, but he lost. So
yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Go ahead.
So then now I'm the other day. What's today? Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today's Thursday. So it had to be Monday. I'm talking with a buddy of mine, the guy who told me, "Oh, those are the easiest things to take care of." So I told him about what happened with those 2. And he goes, "Oh man," he goes, "I got this anaconda female sitting here and she ain't doing nothing. I had her for 6 years." He goes, "Maybe I should send it to you." I said, yeah, maybe you should. Here's my address. I just rattled it off really quick. So like Wednesday night, he gives me a text and he goes, "Here's your tracking number." So I went and picked that anaconda female up today. And, again, I'm kind of worried. I didn't probe her or nothing. But when I did release her in there, I was taking pictures of her spurs, really, really tiny. And then when I seen the spurs on my patternless male, I knew it was a pair. And then here it is, 5-6 hours later, I got the male courting the female. So hopefully it's all good. The female's a little skinny. Hopefully I can put some weight on her real quick and everything goes good.
Yeah, I mean, just start hitting her. You know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, a lot of the things that's recommended just in general when it comes to breeding or having a female that's ovulated, it's like you got to have some sort of like somewhere where like she could rest her body, right? Like because there's so much going on. And I'm curious, did you ever see her like resting her body on any of those ledges? Like you have a bunch of ledges in there, and did you ever see her fall out, or was she always perched tight? I
never seen her on ledges, but once me and Warren kind of came to the conclusion that she was definitely gravid, and I took my zoopoxy branches that I made.
Right.
I took the main one out, the middle one. I took that out, and instead of having everything going from left to right, I actually made a cross.
Right.
Where I made a cross like that so she can lay her full body around like that. She did a few times, but for the most part, she hung over a branch like normal, just big and sloppy.
Yeah, and you're saying even after she or after you felt like she was gravid, she was still underneath those bulbs.
Yeah, she would do a lot of basking, more than usual.
So here's my thing, Uncle Mike. I want to kind of talk about and now this kind of flips my theory completely fucking upside down. But it's the beauty of what we do. I love it. We at the end of the day, nobody really knows what we're doing. It's fucking Mother Nature, right?
That's it. They know what they're doing, though.
They do, yeah, right. But they ain't gonna tell us.
If you support them well and you know how to read your animals, they know what they're doing. Just got to support, what you're seeing from them. If they're starting to gain size after a breeding, you feed the crap out of her until she won't eat no more.
I could have sworn, and this for sure is related to my chondros as far as what happened to me this year, because I definitely got my ass handed to me this year with like the stuff I really wanted to go down, because I had the way I had my rooms set up for me personally, I had a lot of poor results, and some of that beginning of poor results was I had back-to-back slug out chondro clutches. And that's when I realized this new wall that I had, like now I have 16 cages that are all stacked, but they all individually have a heat panel. And so beginning of this year, the way I had this set up, these all didn't have individual probes to set their individual heat. It was basically each row had their own probe that was the heating up that whole row, right?
I got you.
It turns out that it was way overcooking what was happening in that fucking cage, which led to 2 slug out clutches with those chondros. Now, mind you, when I was having those slug out clutches, she had just ovulated, that female that I just lost, right? And so I didn't think any of it then. I just knew, okay, my room's way too hot. I need to make an adjustment. And what happened is, as soon as I made that adjustment 3 months later, that same male that sired those 2 slug out clutches sired another female that gave me 14 healthy eggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is after a few months of adjusting and turning I basically cut every heat panel got turned off in this enclosures. And I was basically just doing ambient, whatever that was happening in my room. And I really was a true believer of, like, you know, how temps could be everything when it comes to having success with breeding. But then also when I had the results, and, you know, mind you, I don't really know, because the female that passed away, she had about 6-7 slugs in her, but she also had about 9 fully developed babies that just didn't make it out. And what happened with her is she had such a huge slug that was positioned a certain way where it just blocked everything. And, you know, and Warren told me, I remember showing a picture to Warren, and Warren told me, like, and this is the day I saw, you know, the ooze coming out of her, and I'm thinking, oh, here come the babies. You know what I mean? I think she has this. And when I saw the way that slug was positioned, Warren told me to get in there and pop that thing out right away. And I was chicken shit. I was like, dude, I was like, I think she has this. You know what I mean? And sure enough, 2 days later, that same fucking that bulge that I even showed you. Remember I showed you that picture of that bulge?
Yeah.
It was still there. And it got to the point where I'm like, I have to fucking see if I can push this thing out. And sure enough, I pushed it out, and it was a fucking huge slug. And then popped out 2 fully termed looking emerald tree boas, you know, northerns that were dead on arrival, unfortunately.
Yep. Well, you know what, Mike? Okay, you got a guy like Warren coaching you through. You know, I get where you're coming from, where you think, she's got it. But, you know, now, you know, if you ever see that again, you got to get that blockage out of the way to save what's behind it. And you might get 2 and another blockage. You got to get it out. You got to get the blockages out of the way. So with my 8 slugs, I have no idea when those came. Were the babies first? Were the slugs first? I have no idea. So I can't really speak on that too much.
You know, there's just a lot of things I'm like, I just don't think I had it fully set up where I feel like certain animals like that need. And I know I did everything I could to keep humidity up. But I feel like the way you have water available is so important to a snake like this, because, you know, if you aren't hitting them with rain on a daily basis, these fucking emeralds drink a lot of water. Like, they chug, bro. And I'm not saying, dehydration had anything to do with it, because she was drinking everything, all that. But, you know, I just, at first, when I remember seeing your enclosure, Mike, I was like, this guy's fucking out of his mind. Like he is fucking, Uncle Mike is literally off his fucking meds right now, man. Like, I cannot believe this shit. But then when I come to think about it, and what's crazy, after I saw the style of enclosure, shout out to Amy Benzie and Dave Kaufman, they were putting out some vlogs in the wild. And then I was starting to look at other vlogs and realizing these emerald tree boas are always sitting over a bank of water on the rivers. Like, they have access to flowing water almost, 24/7 from what I'm seeing in the wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I definitely underestimated the amount of water supply that they need in that enclosure. Like, not only like cups on the sides, but even on the floor. A lot of that should be covered in water, I feel like. I really do.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying you necessarily got to. As a matter of fact, I'm here every day. I'm here every day, all day. I go down at night. I'm always there. But for the most people, I wouldn't suggest as much water as I use. Right. So if because they suck at swimming. They cannot swim for shit. So, thank God I have a lot of, I have pothos just choking the water. So they can always get a tail grip on something.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
It's the babies. Oh man, here's the story. So the night I pulled the 16 babies out, I put them in my my Tinley setup. You know the clear cubes.
Yes, yeah.
So I put them in there, and I have the filter, heated water in there. But in order for that filter to run, I got to have about 3 inches of water. So I put 3 inches of water in there, and I set them up right next to the adults. It was a very temporary cage overnight. I had like I went to Hobby Lobby and I bought a dry wreath. So it's just a bunch of vines shaped like a wreath. And then I put a bunch of fake plants around it and spread it out. So there's jungle vines everywhere. So I put them in there, and yeah, I had the lights set. Everything's on timers in my room except that cage. And I said, oh, I'm going to go down and check on the babies. It was late, probably 10:30 at night. And I go down there and I was like, damn. And I was waiting to see the babies cruising around, right? But the light was still on, so they were all just perched. So I manually turned the light off on that enclosure, and I went and defrosted some rats. And in that, I don't know, whatever, 20 minutes it took me to defrost those rats, I went back to look at my baby boas, and they were cruising all over the place. Well, I seen like 2 or 3 of them in the water, and they were literally like earthworms in water. They were just flipping and flopping, and I was like, so I had to save them. So I saved them all. I got them out of the water, and I drained that down, and I literally left like an eighth of an inch of water on the bottom. Forget the filter, forget the heater. And that's how I kept those until they shed. And then I separated them. Once they all shed, I separated them.
And, I'm telling you right now, if you, good luck. I'm not saying it's impossible to raise baby emeralds that aren't over water, but you're going to fucking you're not going to go through consistent sheds and shits. When they're over water, it's like clockwork. Everything's easy.
Yep.
But then that makes me think, what makes you think they don't even enjoy that as adults? Like, and I'm telling you, it's because, humidity is not an issue when you have water at the bottom. It's
Absolutely.
water. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And only that, if it's fresh water, which it is, they go down, they can drink whenever they want. There's really no, much to even go for to get a drink. They dip their head down, they hit water, they start sucking, and that's how they drink, And
Yep.
I'm just saying, the thing is, I wish I could do if I had the space and all that and ingenuity and what you have as far as your design, I would have, and I'm probably gonna think of something, but I would have a big black tote of water underneath with ledges and pothos plants everywhere. Just like I would totally go with that setup.
It works.
Because we're talking about peace of mind of never having any kind of stuck shed. Because you think I enjoy that, Uncle Mike, grabbing fucking an emerald? You know how many times I've been bit too, not by adult, but babies, like trying to get eye caps off them. And stuff like that. And even if you spray and keep that enclosure with cocoa chip and whatever in it, you deal with stuck sheds. I don't care who you are.
Right.
And I'm talking about people in my demographic. I'm not talking about Florida people. You guys are fucking different. All right. I'm talking people who deal with humidity issues. Like you're almost shooting yourself in the foot by not having some sort of setup like Uncle Mike, But like I said, it's a lot easier said than done. You have a certain design that was really built for monitors, but just happened to be something fitting for your adult emeralds, and you had success with it. So
yeah,
you just can't knock anyone until fucking, until you tried it yourself, I guess,
Right. Well, again, when I posted those photos, I've gotten a lot of people saying, oh, you're going to drown. You can't keep them over water. You got to put them over a diaper. I remember when I heard that diaper, you know what I told them? I replied back to the guy. I said, if I had to keep these beautiful snakes on a diaper, I wouldn't keep them.
You talking about the puppy pad?
Yeah. I got 8 kids, man. I'm done with diapers. Time ago.
No, do you want another? I mean, listen, to each their own. Everybody has their style, but
yeah, absolutely.
Because these snakes aren't always the brightest, okay? And you know how many times I've given and mainly emerald tree boas, but I've given them their rat, they wrap it, they do this thing where they drop and re-roll. And then you know how many times I come back 5 minutes later and they're swallowing half the fucking puppy pad? And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? But they'll literally go down and their teeth will hook the pad.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I heard you. Yeah, absolutely.
And, dude, I've literally countless times, no, I don't say countless, but 3 times I specifically remember having to pull puppy pad out of the throat of an emerald tree boa. That's not fun.
Yeah, that would be scary, man. So let me. I also want to put it like a disclaimer or whatever. Right. Hey, look, man. There's guys who've been doing this stuff way longer than me. They know way better than me. And like you're in California, super dry. I'm in the Midwest. Summertime, super hot. Wintertime, super dry. So I've always, I figured out as a kid how to regulate my humidity with my animals, but it works here. I would have to be different where you're at, and maybe somebody in, Texas is dealing with it. So wherever people are successful with these things and they're doing what they're doing, that works for them in their area. So if somebody from Florida, said, I mean, there's no basements in Florida that I know of, but, I wouldn't suggest them keeping them like I do, maybe, I don't know, but definitely where you're at over water, it would really help because you're super dry,
Yeah, I mean, and listen, spraying is a big part of my maintenance. What I do on a almost day-to-day basis, because I have two different rooms that two different sides of the room that both need spraying. Otherwise, I deal with stuck sheds. It's what it comes down to. And I've already tried controlling the humidity ambient in this room, and it's a pain in the ass. Like,
yeah,
I've had multiple big humidifiers, and then that's great until you got to fill up the water, and then the filters go bad, and it's like I'm trying to fucking eliminate less okay, monthly stuff I need to rebuy every fucking month and stuff like that,
Right. Well, I'm a cheapskate. Whatever I do, 90% of it is shit I make myself. So my filter pads, all of that stuff is just, stuff that I've learned because I'm cheap, man. When I was a kid, I didn't have no money. My mom didn't have money for that stuff. So, I figured out, different gutter filter. I mean, there's all kinds of.
That's what makes you a good keeper. Is you got to start thinking out the box. You got to start figuring out what works.
I love you, son. I'm sorry, my son is just leaving. Love you, Dom. Yes.
Anyway, thinking outside the box is something you eventually have to do being a keeper, and that's kind of what would make you the keeper you are. Is figure out what's going to work best for your situation and with what you have.
Absolutely, and it's the same with monitors too. I mean, the way I keep them here ain't going to work for somebody in Texas or Louisiana, whatever. Things are different region to region. You got to learn what works for you.
And it sucks, man. But I learned that for right now, my life situation, my lace monitors they ain't for me right now. It sucks. But it's something that I'm maturely happy that I'm thinking of and doing. And obviously, shout out to Brian Waterloo. You know what I mean? But Mac Dre and Alice, they're going to Uncle Waterloo. What a person to go to.
Absolutely. That's the guy to go to for sure.
But I underestimate a lot of things, man. And when it comes down to these monitors, Uncle Mike, if you ain't got the space, don't even think about it. And I do a lot. Obviously I got a lot of things that I dabble in, but I really know that next time I do want to pursue the and tree monitors are different, right? But we're talking like the reticulated python of lizards here. You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, like once you get these big Varanuses,
yep.
You got to give them space, or you're doing them no service. You're
doing them no service. Now, here's the other thing. So, like animals that are captive born, they don't really know what vast open spaces are. Where when you get, medium-sized wild-caught animals, even babies, when you get them from the wild, I mean, they're never going to bump into a wall. So that's very constricting, I guess that would be the constricting and unnatural to them. So captive born is always better. You can get away with a little bit of smaller cages as long as people don't understand too. If you take a 4x4x6 box and you put a couple of shelves in there and a log, a hide spot, man. I see so many bare ass cages. If you put like you got the lattice on the wall, something to climb on the walls with, more branches, more ledges, you can triple the size of even a small enclosure with the way you lay it out.
Uncle Mike, I want to say the lattice is trash. I don't like the lattice.
I didn't want to say it because you use it.
Good. No, it's all good. No, okay, listen, baby. I had to bring this up. But remember, Uncle Mike, you came at me for the ground turkey, and I got in my feelings. Because I was like, dude, this is the best. But, man, I got to tell you, I have not dealt with the fucking AK-47 splattered shit ever since I stopped the ground turkey. because the ground turkey was making my life a living hell, bro.
Absolutely.
The way that shit would smell, and it would spray. It was never a bulk shit. It was always wet and everywhere. And we didn't really talk about it during our diet segment, but the sloshes is, not doing that because the way it comes out of that monitor isn't normal. It shouldn't be shitting like that, right?
Right. Let me tell you how my weird brain thinks. So monitor lizards, dry marcons, thamnophis, high metabolism animals, they are food processors. Okay. So when you give them a quail chick, okay, they eat this quail chick. They're a food processor. They're breaking down that beak, the feather, the feet, the nails, the innards, everything. If you take that same quail and run it through a grinder and give it to them, you think, wow, that's the same thing, right? No, it's not the same thing. Go back to the beginning of the story when I was telling you about multiple food items. Well, now you take that same food item and grind it up into a mash, and it goes into their belly. Their stomach acids destroy that instantly. Their stomach acids are so toxic, corrosive that they need to break all that shit down. That's how they work. So when you do that process for them, there's nothing for them to do but eat it, let it sit in there for maybe 6-7 hours, and then spray it all over the front of your glass.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, this is why I also look at, one of the things I was feeding before even quail were chicks, and I say that chicks are digested even differently than quails are.
Absolutely. That's Savannah, MJ, that's Savannah. Everybody. That's my oldest daughter.
So she's number one. She's number one of 8?
She's number one of actually 9, but yeah, 8.
Number
9. Oh my God, what a legend. Hey, pleasure meeting you.
You too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, one year at my union hall, they invited me. I was apprentice of the year, so my buddy was the president of our local.
Okay.
He invited me there to just like present the journeyman certificates to the people. And This is coming into an age where like women were coming into the trade. So this girl got her apprenticeship and she walked up, shook his hand, she shakes my hand to take the picture. And some asshole in the crowd goes, "You better go get a pregnancy test."
I remember that. Bye. Nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting you. Bye. Take care. I'm surprised we're an hour and 20 minutes in, and we're just now seeing one of your family members, because you always got family around you. You're surrounded, and I think that's what makes you the man you are. I'm not gonna lie, Uncle Mike.
Absolutely. The best thing that ever happened to me was having all my kids.
And, Uncle Mike, I mean, listen, I know everyone has a past, but like I can't imagine how far you've come, in your life, and it also, we haven't talked much, which I do want to talk to you more at some point, but like I know you've come, so many different paths to where you're at today, but you're just an awesome, like, loving guy, man, and I hope to get to your levels at some point, but the way you have an outlook on things it's so positive, and you really do give people the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean?
I try. I mean, dude, listen, if there was no such thing as second chances, there'd be no Uncle Mike. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I live and let live. I don't really care. Just don't step on my bad feet and I'm good.
Don't step on his toenails. Trust me.
Hey, that'd be worse than that bite you got on the back of your leg.
All right, listen, one of the wrap-up topics for tonight, though, overall the reptile community is a beautiful place to be, but it's still growing, right, Uncle Mike? We still got new people coming in, but we still have other people influencing new keepers on social media. What are the biggest misconceptions you feel like are getting into monitors right now? Like, what are some heads up that you want to give to people out there? And mainly because, there are stuff even on people's website that are mislabeled, a lot of fake United States captive born and bred. You have one of the biggest names out there who's been notorious of selling like fake, captive hatch stuff. So like, what are some of your like, bewares, and just like also like positive things you have to say about the newer monitor keepers coming in and whatnot, and what to be aware about?
Okay. Well, the main thing is things have really progressed, and I don't know if this is because of my way of thinking. But when I started as a kid with reptiles, I don't care if I got a toad out of my backyard. I put it in a 10-gallon tank and I tried to make it as much like their natural habitat, like the frog pond down the road at my house. So I was always into that naturalistic keeping, which is good for, I mean, it's good for me or you, or when people come and look at my animals, you know, they appreciate it more rather than just, you know, like a ball python in a drawer. You know what I mean? So to see an animal interacting with a hide spot, climbing on a branch, you know, swimming in their water, it's just so more stimulating to watch. And then it engages people, and then they start asking you questions. And then before you know it, I got these people when I was young, you know, my friends, they were into it. And then when they would see my cages, they'd go home and they'd try to, you know, replicate naturalistic habitats. So that's very beneficial. And what I love about what's going on in the United States now, like with guys like Armand and you know, all these other guys that are doing really Cody Kopp, that are doing really great naturalistic enclosures, is back in my day, everything was the lowest common denominator. You had aspen bedding, or shit, I go back to the corn cob days. I don't know if you ever heard of cob.
Corn cob? What do you mean, like corn on the cob?
That's what they did. They had some hillbilly eat all the corn, and they saved the cob and they grind it up. Now they would take this dry ground corn cob and we would put Burmese pythons on it, boas on it. It's just, yeah, totally, totally stupid. But
Terrible.
that's how it was back then. And I was doing my thing. And everybody said, you know, I had one guy who said, you know, he knows that's a fake plant. And I said, yeah, I mean, obviously he knows what a real plant is. He knows what a fake plant is, but it does the same thing. It gives visual barriers to other tank mates. And, you know, they serve a purpose, even though they're not real. And I said, yeah, you know, I get it. He knows it's not real. And I'm sure he knows that the light bulb burning in a roof ain't a fucking sun either, you know? So it's just how you look at things. And like I said, it's more about like engaging yourself to seeing your animal interacting with its habitat. So I really am happy to see everybody coming around and really stacking enclosures out. It's almost a standard now to where, you know, if you do the lowest common denominator, you know, if you don't, you should feel guilty, because it's not hard to make a naturalistic setup that you and your animal and other people will enjoy and get people interested in your animals. You know, that's what it's about to me. I want other people to enjoy this shit.
Yeah. And I just really want people to, you know, as far as like when it comes to monitors and thinking long-term enclosure, you're better off underestimating than overestimating. And what I mean by, underestimating, like meaning you want to make sure they have more space than you think. You know what I mean? And I mainly mean that when it comes to the bigger Varanuses, when it comes to size, and when you have a pair and you need to separate them, well, we're gonna put that other male. Like, do you have something just as big to put that other male? And what's crazy with a lot of these Varanus species, like the males are a lot bigger than the females. So the male that you separate needs actually a bigger enclosure in a sense than the female does. Like when I went to Waterloo's, he had his males in the biggest enclosures in his facility, and I was like, you know, and normally in, you know, breeding snakes or whatever, that's not the case. You know, you take the male out and put him in something a lot smaller. But when it comes to monitors, it's a whole nother game, dude. Like a whole nother beast.
It is. It's a whole nother beast. And what you're saying right now really boils down to what I was saying earlier, is it's about their metabolism. So when you have animals like constrictors, large boids, python species, you know, they eat a big meal, they go and they sit, and they'll when they're hungry, they'll go to a certain spot that they know is a good food trail, and they'll just sit and wait and pray. Monitor lizards and other high metabolism animals, they're not like that. They're looking for their food, so they cover a lot of ground. So you better give them a lot of space.
Yeah, you know, and another thing about monitors, man, they let you know, right? Like they are something that do like make you feel bad for sure. Like
Absolutely.
they look you in the eye in a sense, and you know, it's not something you keep in a rack that you just need to give it fresh water. Like
no.
If these things are not happy in their enclosure, they're going to let you know. You know.
Well, they're highly intelligent And if you don't engage their brain, they become like, you know, when you see the elephant in the zoo in a really small, you know, enclosure, and they just pace back and forth, or the lions and the tigers.
Ticking time bomb.
Yeah, you got to give them stuff to engage their brain, not only within their enclosure, but, you know, don't just always feed them, you know, put it on the tongs and let them eat off the tong. Throw it in there. Let them chase it. You know, maybe you put it on top of a log and they have to go look for it. Or maybe you take a quail and you run it all over the log before you give it to him. He eats the quail, but now he still smells quail, and he goes and he sniffs all his logs. He's looking around for another quail. It's really good for their brain to engage like that.
Yeah. And that's just that different level of enrichment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 All right. Now listen up. I got a wrap up question for you, Uncle Mike. My camera's tweaking out. Give me 1 second. I'll talk. I can still hear you and talk to you, but
all right.
Overall, Uncle Mike, where do you feel like production is going to be like for you in the next few years? And also, what is the bread and butter right now when it comes to production, monitor-wise? I know we talked about emeralds, and I know you got other stuff in the works for that, but if we're talking monitors here, like how much longer do you see yourself breeding this stuff? Like you've been doing it, you've been at it for a long time, and I'm just curious what the future holds for Uncle Mike for like the next 5 to even like 10 years.
Okay, well, I'm 60 this year, Mike. So
wow,
10 years would be great. I'll take it. I never thought I'd make 60, so I'm very grateful for that. But I'm so hyped up on these Togis, the Varanus togienus that I have. I'm focused in, and I'm honed in on producing these like I do my Mertens or my Coming Eye or like anything else, to where I put enough of them into the hobby to where nobody would even, I mean, number one, it's very hard to get togienus, be it from the Togian Islands or Sulawesi. Very hard to get. Always have been a very rare animal. And I want to make it to where I want to produce, 250 a year from 2 females of togienus. So that's a big shot right there. But that's my goal. I want to produce enough of them to where, I got some of my Mertens are all over the world, really. I've been shipping them out, and, they're in a lot of reptile institutions where people can go and learn about them. So again, that's what it is. I just want to do my part to relieve wild collecting. You know what I mean? And there's a big difference between captive born and wild caught. You might spend $1,000 on a wild caught togienus, and you can spend a lot more than that with me on captive born. But here's another point I wanted to drive home: is the difference between captive born and wild caught. So your captive borns, you get them, you pay a lot of money for them, but they're good to go. There's no dehydration issues, no worming, none of that stuff. Where if you think you're going to save some money and you're going to buy, of course, Philippines is closed, but if you were going to buy a wild caught Coming Eye, okay, you'll buy a wild caught Coming Eye for, say, $700-800. Okay, that's what you paid to get them to your house. Now, when you get them to your house, you realize, wow, that thing's in fucking terrible shape. Now you got to hydrate it. Now you got to deworm it. You got to flagell, panicure, praziquantel. These are, that's not cheap medicine. It takes time to deliver the medicine to your animals. And then, hopefully they survive all of that stress from being wild caught, and you successfully deworm them and rehydrate them. Now you got to get them going. What people don't understand is that $700 Coming Eye, when you go to your vet, as soon as you walk in the door, you didn't even take that wild caught Coming Eye out of the box yet. The doctor didn't even see it. He's already marked you down for $500-600. Now he puts hands on that animal. Now you're talking $1,000. Now your $700 purchase is $1,700 purchase. I sell mine for $2,000, and there's still a chance yours may die and mine won't unless you neglect it.
And then not only that, we talk about mentorship that comes with your animals, right? Like how many people to this day are you just always giving advice to? I mean, that's why you're Uncle Mike. You know what I mean?
I'll give advice to anybody, and I give advice to anybody more of the love of the animals And I used to be, in my younger days, it was really like competitive, and I'd say like
no, it was like hoarding information. That was the game plan back then. Like
I was never that way.
That's how people, but that's how the majority of that community was, right? Like that's how a lot of people who had the upper hand were like withholding information, right?
Absolutely. And I've dealt with that too coming up in this stuff, because when I started with the Varanus, me, Brian Waterloo, John Adranya, there wasn't a lot of information. It just turns out that you would pick your certain friends, and we didn't really know. So we were just sharing what we were seeing and, piecing it together little by little. Yet there was successful people. And when you talk to them, it was like, like you were asking if you could sleep with their wife or something, so, keeping this big secret. It's like, wait a minute, man, you're a dick. So whatever. I would, me and all my other peers, we'd kind of put our brains together and figure things out. And that's when, I was like, why am I going to, somebody coming up like me, they have a passion, why am I going to deny that to them? Because what it boils down to is I don't care. I'll tell anybody anything, whatever I do. I don't care. There's one thing that I can't do for people is put it in their head that, I tell them, monitors are every day. You can't sleep on monitors. You got to work them every day, feed, water, change them, stimulate their brain, the whole 9 yards. And what it boils down to is where successful people are. And I'm not saying unsuccessful people. It's not about being successful or unsuccessful. It's about how much you are willing to put into it. So if you don't, like when I was young and I was raising up, 8 kids, and I working a full-time job, and there's only so much I could do, where now I'm here with them every day. So I can tell you everything in the world, but if you don't put in the work every day like I do, you're not going to reach these numbers.
There's just some things you can't force, and that's timeline. Like you do. Some people have success on different timing when it comes to different, situations with keepers, right? And
yep.
Like you said, you coming into this game was a whole nother generation, a whole nother era, but you got where you're at due to just you putting through the work and time. Like you got where you're at because of time, Uncle Mike. You put in
absolutely, and now you got to put everything into perspective, Mike. I'm an empty nester. You're just starting your family. You're probably going to have another little Leo, a beautiful little baby, maybe many, maybe 9.
With an Uncle Mike goatee.
Yeah. I'll tell your mom I'm sorry about that.
Oh, she'll be all right. Don't worry about her.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was funny though. But life gets in the way too of this shit with monitors, because like I'm saying to you, you got the one kid now. If you have another kid, there's going to come baseball, football, cheerleading, after school activities, plays, a lot of time. And if you take too much of time away from the monitors, that's when you got to really know how to manage it. So as you're coming up, like what you've done, you realize you bit off a little more than you could chew with your monitors, and you're smart enough to know, I'm going to get these into good hands, and you're going to work with what you can handle right now, what you have time for right now, which is your tree monitors. I clap for you on that. Not a lot of people will do that, and they'll let their whole collection suffer. Where you realize that, and that's what you people got to realize that, put things into perspective.
Yeah, man. And listen, it all becomes, all I got is longevity in my mindset when it comes to this stuff. And I know at some point when I get more property or whatever life situation I have at that time, I could get monitors in my life whenever I'm ready. You know what I mean? And hopefully it would be from something that me and Waterloo work out. Either way, I'm just so happy that I'm taking something I love, which is these monitors. It's kind of like letting my children go in a sense, but they're going to somebody I look up to in the lace world, and that's Brian Waterloo. I couldn't pick a better person for them to go to,
I agree with you 100%, man. That dude, you talk about. So I've loved animals my whole life. Brian Waterloo has loved lace monitors his whole life. When they were unavailable, when they were unobtainable, he used to say, as kids, I'm going to have lace money. Yeah, right, Brian. Yeah, I'm going to have water. I'm going to have lace money. Yeah, right. I mean, we knew you weren't getting them, right?
Yeah.
Sure as shit, man. He kept hard at it. Not only did he get them, he breeds them. He's one of the most successful lace monitor guys out there, amongst other things. I mean, you can't,
Yeah, you got
you know,
more.
you can't. Yeah, he's very successful. Another guy like Brian Duraca.
Duraka, yeah, check to Brian Duraka.
Yeah, he's really low key on social media, but man, that guy kills it. He kills it.
Yep, definitely, man. But like I said, shout out to all the OGs out there. There are definitely a good handful of people out there, and some don't like to be out in the limelight, but you have people who've been really dedicated to this animal, and it's something where it should be a lifetime dedication. Like, you know, it because it takes that much time from you out of your life. Like it's something you can't just set and forget. Like these are living dinosaurs, man, and we're talking as close as prehistoric as we could get. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Very bird-like,
Very bird-like, yeah. And, it's crazy to even think. I saw Jurassic Park, and remember back in that movie, they were trying to relate birds to, to raptors, and so. But when you really look at it, it's so true. Like these things are so close to being relatives to birds, and they probably really are.
Absolutely. Well, I know their intelligence is for sure. I mean, I could go into Kingpin or Bumblebee's cage, even Lemonhead, my male coming eye. I could literally open their cage door, call their name, and they'll come to me.
Yeah.
So they're very intelligent.
Yeah. I mean, it isn't even a pterodactyl like a flying lizard in a sense? Like
I think so. Yeah. And then you can't forget the Archaeopteryx, which is the first feathered dinosaur, which is probably my favorite dinosaur. Very cool.
Damn, Uncle Mike. Well, listen, great episode. I appreciate you coming on, and really, I want to just kind of hone down on your success with the emeralds because I doubted you, but like not in a bad way. I just thought like this guy's fucking out of his mind because I'm going by the book, of course. You think you're bugging fucking Dr. Warren Booth? I'm always going to Warren, but he's our buddy,
He's so patient, calm. I swear, I wish I was patient and calm like him. But yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great mentor, and man, I can't say enough good things about Warren. I love the guy. He's awesome.
But it goes back to you too, man. I appreciate all the just all the advice that you've given to not only myself but just anyone out there. You're a very awesome human in the community, and we obviously need more Uncle Mikes out there for sure. But we can't. There's only one Uncle Mike, and that's a fact.
Bye, Dad. Love you.
See, look at that, family guy.
See ya, hon.
Bye.
What number daughter's that?
That's Savannah. That's number one.
No, that's number. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's number one. But hey, while we're out here and we're dropping names and stuff, I got to say, Keith McPeak has always been a great guy to me. Tom Crutchfield is another OG that's just, willing to share information. And Tom's a really, you ain't going to bullshit with that guy. He's going to give it to you straight. And if you're wrong, he's going to put you in your place. And, Keith McPeak is like that. Again, another really nice, calm guy, straight shooter. Gary Shavino, all of these guys. I mean, what we got going on right now is really, really great.
Yeah, we're in a good era right now. I'm not gonna lie, we're in a good time, man. So, all right, Uncle Mike has family saying bye to him. Listen, Uncle Mike, before we let you go, what do you have to say to all the love and support that not only that you get from your family, but what do you say to all the love and support on people on Instagram, YouTube, all the reptile community people who love you out there? What do you have to say to everyone?
Well, I just want to say thank you for all the support over the years, and I'm sure I'm a pain in the ass to people, and people like me. Hey, you know what? People like you, people hate you. What are you going to do? You just go with who?
Jesus loves you.
Jesus loves you. Yeah, I love you guys. They're messing up my stride here. So you just kind of get with your clique and your group, and man, I mean, the reptile community can be a very volatile place. I mean. You get these sides that go this way. Man, I don't want sides. I want to talk with people. I want to be friends with people. I want to share information with people. If you know what, in this crazy ass day and age that we live in, left, right, gay, black, man, shut the fuck up with that stuff. Live and let live. Do your own thing. Go your own way. Don't do it in my backyard. I won't do it in your backyard. Everybody should be happy, right?
Yeah, but also shout to the gays and blacks. I just want to say
I got no problem. That's what I'm saying.
we love you.
That's what I'm saying. I got no problem. And anyone who tries to put that in as like a wedge, they're the assholes.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, that's why you got to pick and choose who you hang around with, and you can easily tell the ones who are here for all that bullshit. And all the people we mentioned, Gary Scavino, John, we're talking people who aren't even involved with any of that bullshit. So it's very easy to tell who's here for the real deal shit in the reptile world and who's not. But that's up to you to decide. And so again, thank you, Uncle Mike. For people to follow you, where are you more active? Is it Instagram, Facebook? Where can people follow you at?
Instagram, here's the thing. Instagram, Mike's Monitors. Facebook, Michael Stefani. I do have Mike's Monitors Facebook, but I rarely go there. It's a pain in the ass. Right. So I just stick with Mike Stefani on Facebook, Mike's Monitors on Instagram, Mike's Monitors on YouTube, mikesmonitors.com. And you can catch me on any of that stuff. And you can see me at any of the NARBC shows in the Chicagoland area. And again, support USARC. We need them more than you could even imagine.
And of course, Uncle Mike, we could catch you here with Jen Black, all Monitor Talk bi-weekly Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Thank you. Hey, and we were talking, I don't want to keep this too long, but so you were asking about what's going on for the next 10 years. I can tell you this. Uncle Mike, 2025, I got some big things coming up. I don't want to spill too much beans. More in the snake realm, hopefully. So we'll just keep it tuned into that. Something really, really pretty big.
Eventually, you have to come on here and spill the beans at some point. So,
you know what? When these animals are secure in my basement, I'll spill the beans. Until then, there's too many people out there that like to throw a monkey wrench in the engine. You know what I mean?
Oh, do I know what you mean? Of course, Uncle Mike. Well, listen, guys, you can find all the links to follow Uncle Mike in the description below. But please give it up. It's a wrap for Uncle Mike. Mike's Monitors, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. God bless you all. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Uncle Mike. God bless you, bro. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too, buddy.
All right. Have a one. One thing about, this was a great episode, but I love hanging with Uncle Mike in person because it's a whole nother level. You know what I mean? He just has that vibe. He makes you feel good, and I felt good this entire podcast just talking to him. And, when you have someone with that much knowledge and just time into this game, you can't help but just to value anything that comes out of his mouth. And so, again, super happy with his success with the Animal Tree Boas. And I definitely recommend you following Mike's Monitors on Instagram and Facebook, Michael Stefani, because when it comes to the monitors, that's his bread and butter, and shit. If he proves another litter of Emerald Tree Boas, that could be his bread and butter too. You never know. But I'm so happy for him. I learned a lot on this episode. I hope you guys did too. If this is your first time hanging out, please hit that like button. Okay, let's get the likes up for Uncle Mike, and then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You'll be notified of every podcast 7 days a week under the Trap Talk Reptile Network. Don't forget tomorrow's Dave Levison podcast with the one and only legendary Tim Bailey of Tim Bailey Reptiles, happening here tomorrow, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And I do have a new segment announcement. I was kind of like nothing, we have all Monitor Talk bi-weekly with Uncle Mike and Jen Black, but I didn't have the other set of the weekends, the other 2 weekends of the month really locked in. And I was finally able to lock in someone I was trying to get so bad for the Saturday Monitor Talk. And that's, of course, somebody who's literally in the jungle doing it, man. Someone who has nothing but first-hand on experience when it comes to talking about these awesome monitors in the fucking trees, on the ground, laying eggs, all that stuff. Okay, Chris Applin, please welcome his new podcast happening here bi-weekly Saturdays under the Trap Talk Reptile Network, the Varanus Vault Podcast, brought to you by Chris Applin. And this Saturday, he's going to be having Robert Spracklin on the show. And it's going to be one for the books. I've only gotten up a great feedback from any podcast Chris has dropped here on the network. And I'm telling you right now, you want to learn from the best, learn from the people who are actually in the thick of the bushes, the ones in the jungle. That's what I'm talking about. But thank you guys. Appreciate all love and support. And of course, if you like to support more than just watching Trap Talk Reptile Podcast on this platform, you can also join the Trap Talk Patreon family. And you can meet over 250 awesome keepers who are in this for the long run. All right. Awesome Discord, aka Trapcord, that you can connect on. There's an awesome Instagram group chat. So all my Patreon members, you guys are my heart, but come join the Trap Talk Patreon member. Cool Patreon family. Coolest Patreon family in the world. All right, guys, listen. Episode 535 in the books. Please have a good rest of your nights, evening, morning. Trap Talk be global all around the world. Coolest reptile network in the world, and that's a fact. Have a good night, and I'm out. Cheers.